I love it.
All right. Welcome back to the I Created That podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Jansel, and I am super excited that you are here because today we are going to be connecting with Leigh Sund, who is the owner of two really awesome businesses that you guys will have to check out. So she's the owner of LeighAshley Fit, which is an amazing fitness business. She's doing a lot of online coaching, so we're going to dive into that, as well as her brand new Shopify store. I'm so excited about this. It is called Wildly Fit Co. So we're going to dig into what she's doing there. Leigh's been in business for about 5 years in the fitness world as a studio gym owner. And of course, if you know Leigh, if you're going to check her out on Instagram, which we will share the links in the show notes here for sure, you will be able to see that she is passionate about both business and personal, but she is also a wife and a dog mom. You cannot miss out on her amazing puppies. So welcome to the show, Leigh.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and just really thankful for the opportunity to chat with you today.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. And Leigh and I have actually been chatting quite a bit just about her Shopify store and her business. And so I feel like I'm pretty well versed on a few things. So there's quite a few questions I want to ask her just about like running a product based biz and like all the stuff that kind of goes into that before. So if there's anyone out there listening to this that's thinking about that, we're going to get the goods today on that for sure. So Leigh, I know I shared a little bit about you, but why don't I just give you a minute to kind of share a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I am, like Sarah said, a dog mom, wife, gym owner, and business owner. And this change in our world has really changed the structure of my businesses. And that's when I went online and I created what I call the Lasting Lifestyle Program. And my mission statement when I work with clients is to positively impact others' daily lives, all while getting healthier. And I have really changed what that looks like and how I execute that life mission with, at first it felt like everything was falling apart, but really now I see it as such a blessing, and how the fitness industry was fast tracked by 20 years and really decided to make the most of what was happening to me and turn it into something that was happening for me. And as my mindset and life kind of changed, it brought me onto this path of wanting to create a product-based business as well. And I'm super excited to see where the road takes us talking about the differences of that. But that's how our paths crossed, because Sarah did my build out, which I'm very thankful for. And yeah, I love to work. I love to connect with people and dogs.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it. And I love what you said there because I feel like I almost wanted to pause because I was like, there's so many things that have been happening since like 2020. It's all still very fresh. Depending on where you live, it might still be even fresh. But I love that you were talking about how you turned something that could have felt like it was like happening to you into something that was actually happening for you. And I'm like, look at all the amazing gifts that it has brought, that you have brought, that you're going to be bringing people in the world. So I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I wanted to dive a little bit into the fact that you left a corporate job. And, I can definitely relate to that in the midst of a pandemic, starting something new. I feel like people were impacted in different ways. So, what kind of led you to start your own business and leave that corporate world behind?
Yeah, so I've left corporate more than once.
Love it.
So yeah, it took me a couple times to learn that lesson, I guess. So the first time I left corporate, I actually managed a fitness, like a chain, a couple chain gyms, and I started to just realize that I wanted to have this impact and help people, and I was doing that, but then I was having somebody either stomp on the things that I was doing, or um, I really didn't have any control over certain things. And there was one day I remember this, and the woman who saved me that day is still my client to this day. She's amazing. Her name's Michelle. That I had the worst day that I ever could have thought of. I was crying in my office, and I'm very like, that's not like me, like, at all. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there. The owner came in and just was so like everything was my fault, yelling at me, upset, mad, and there was nothing I could do. And I was crying. And this girl came in who had done a free trial, and she just walked in, saw what was happening, left, went across the street, bought me a coffee and soup from this little coffee shop. And she walked in and she handed me this soup and she goes, "I hope you have the best day ever." She didn't, my boss is still yelling at me and screaming.
Wow.
And turned around and left. And it was like, you know what? There are good people in this world. And I would rather be broke and eating top ramen for the rest of my life than ever be treated like that again. And it was just someone's act of kindness that gave me the courage to go, I don't care what my life ends up looking like, but it's not going to look like this. And I quit that day. That day. I rented this tiny little studio because I didn't have a place to train people or do anything. So I found this back alley studio. We went through the back door. I paid $500 a month and shared this space with other people. And I started training and running boot camps. And I mean, I think my family was like, "Are you okay? Like, is it safe to go there?" Like, they were more worried about me than I was, but I was like, well, I gotta try. And then, you know, before I knew it, it was like I was building my studio in my house that I live in now. And, it, you know, people might look at Instagram now and think, oh my gosh, like, it must be so great. And it's like, if only you knew what it took to get here, though. I had to have that horrible day, be down on my luck, find the strength, go to this crazy, sketchy place, start my business, hope that people wanted to train with me. But I followed my instincts and just knew that even though there was maybe hiccups along the way and things were scary, something that scared me more was staying in that horrible, horrible place that I was. That was more scary to me than whatever was ahead. So if it meant, like I said, the not ideal circumstances, the learning as I went on and on, I was okay with that because I knew it had to be better than where I was. And so that was the first time I left corporate. I actually did go back to corporate when the whole world ended in 2020. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to keep everything afloat. And I didn't know that I was going to be online. I just knew that I couldn't serve my people, and I wanted to be able to I checked out gym equipment for free. I did online workouts for free, all kinds of things that I could just to keep people in the place that they needed to be. But I still had to eat. I was still worried. I didn't want to have to charge people for that. So I ended up getting a job in construction as a engineer, project management kind of stuff. And through that, I was able to hire a business coach, hire online help with different VAs, and create my online programs because I didn't know how to. So I went and found experts who did so I could serve my customers best. And I recently just quit that job again. But that was because I've had my online thriving now, and I'm in a place where it just makes sense and to best serve my customers. I don't need to have my time elsewhere. But when I didn't know what was ahead for me, to make sure that I could still deliver and help people in a struggling time, I didn't want to have financial worry be on my list. I had a solution to that and was just able to authentically serve people in the health and wellness space during that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, like so many amazing things to unpack there. I feel like that first story, I literally had goosebumps, first of all. It's like, that's amazing that person's your client, and just thinking about like the struggles, and like, it's already a hard enough decision to like, you know, if you're just looking for another job or you're doing something, but then to like stand up for yourself and your values and be like, no, there's a better life out there for me. Like that takes serious courage. Like amazing courage.
I was scared.
Yeah, yeah. But like when you tell that, and I love that you're like, if you look on Instagram, like you probably wouldn't have seen any of that. But like this is some of the realities around people who are creating a lifestyle, who are creating a brand, who are creating a business. And, you can look back at that and be like, I created that now, right? But like during the time, it's like, I love that you were just being resourceful. You're like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to trust my instincts. I'm going to rent this place. I'm just going to believe that people are going to work with me. All the things that we tell ourselves in our head, but like just keep going. Like that's a testament to resiliency right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never give up.
Never give up. No, no. And now look at you, right? So all of these things that you built, which are so cool. So I know you were talking a little bit about like through pandemic, and there's kind of like this phase when everyone's like, this is temporary, and there's like, amazing stuff that you're doing to support your community for free. But there had to have been a point where you were realizing, whether it was pandemic related or just like, hey, I can serve more people or whatever it is, like this transition period where you're like, I think I'm going to need to transfer some of this like in-person stuff that you were doing to online. And I would love to hear a little bit about that, because I know just from seeing what you're doing and like client testimonials and things, that's going really well. And so like what that transition was like for the better.
Yeah, it was not easy. I would be very sugarcoating it if I told you it was easy, but my thought process on why it was worth it was I never wanted to be caught like this again. I couldn't control what happened before, but I could be prepared if it ever was my reality again. And that's where I knew that it was non-negotiable, even if my doors were to open tomorrow or 2 weeks from now or whatever you were told and where you live, was if this has happened once, it's proof that it could happen again. When people were like, what's happening is impossible. It's not though, because it happened. And now I know that. So now I need to set myself up in a place to never be caught like this again. And that was really important to me, to create something that could stand time. And then it did, and it was met with some resistance because people were always used to working with me when doors started opening, and I was like, no, this is where I'm staying. That did ruffle some feathers. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. But I believed in it. I had other people who believed in it. And I knew that if I put my energy back into how I used to do things, I wouldn't see the results I'm seeing today. So I told myself, and again, that's why that corporate job actually gave me a little bit of financial cushion to say no to the thousands and thousands of dollars I could have brought back in training, and just have the confidence of like, this is where I'm going. And because I didn't have financial stress and could just execute as exactly how I wanted to, it's been thriving. And I was actually surprised at how much it's been thriving, because people always have a weird thought about online, like, oh, I'd rather go get a workout in person. But what it has done is it has taken fitness into your life instead of you visiting fitness for an hour. And that's what people are like, wow, I 23 hours a day am making really great decisions, instead of I 1 hour a day when I came to work out with you are making great decisions, because I'm teaching them food, mindset, nutrition, all those things that on an all-day basis they get to implement, instead of, oh, group fit was fun today, now I'm gonna go have margaritas and blow it. So it was a crazy transition for sure, but seeing it thrive now has just shown that, again, trusting my instincts and my gut, like I knew that I could do this, and I just had to take action. And every time I took action, a little more clarity came around it. So if anyone's trying to do something online, just start. And then the clarity behind what it's supposed to look like, what you're supposed to do, will present itself as you continually move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like you just never know where you're going to end up. And, I think the other thing you were saying too about like, I chose to go back to corporate because it helped me to like fund the things I needed to do to make the thing happen is so important, I think, for people to hear, because I think a lot of times when people are sitting in their corporate jobs or they're doing something else and they're like, I really want to do that, but it feels like there's this decision about like, well, then it's this or it's that then. And the reality is that it's not always this and that. It's sometimes this and this, right? And, I know when I started my own Shopify business, I did that, while I worked my corporate job for, almost 2 years before I decided to jump in full tilt. And then that looked like a coaching business because of the pandemic, right? So, what I ended up starting with wasn't what I ended up finishing with, but I was able to fund so many things, do so many amazing programs like you. Actually, Leigh and I met in an amazing mastermind. And so I feel like that's the power of sometimes just committing to doing something and figuring it out, right? Until you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And like I said, I had to learn the corporate lesson twice. I
Yeah.
was in corporate, and then I ended up working in corporate, in the construction industry. Very different. And I honestly thought like, oh no, maybe this is what I have to do forever if everything changes. And then I was like, no, you can do both. And then it'll present itself, what one you really want. And I had a conversation the other day about we know what we want. We really do. We just somehow listen to other people. We push things away. We think, I don't know. And it's like, I always hear all the time, why didn't I do this sooner? Whether it's starting a fitness journey or a business or anything. It's like you genuinely in your heart know. It's just like either having the confidence to step into that or testing the waters by holding on to both because that's your comfort level. Everybody's a little different, but yeah, it doesn't have to be, nothing is black and white.
That's true. That's true. And so how do you feel like, we were talking about how you're really bringing fitness into like people's lifestyles versus, and like, it almost kind of hit me a little bit that I was like, yeah, like I remember being so crushed that I couldn't go like in person to the gym, like for a while and things like that. And so, I YouTubed some things and, did, other things and would hope for a nice day to go for a walk. But it's like, I love that you were saying you're really trying to like create this lifestyle around things where people can see that like, that's not the only way to do it. And in fact, it might not be the best way, which tells me that like their access to things like you and fitness and different things with online has probably shifted as well. So like, how do you think that shifted for the better?
I mean, this fast-tracked the fitness industry by 20 years. I swear. We went from people, I'm going to do a drop-in class once a week to they're checking in with their online buddies in my community every day. Some of them are sending pictures of their food throughout the day to each other. Look at this. I sent this great recipe to so-and-so and I made it today. Like, it is actually connected people more. That's what I think the beautiful thing is at a, like, least cost, least, like, barrier to entry. I mean, you can find a community for everything now. So if you're a yoga girl, I guarantee you at the easiest, like, barrier to entry, you can find 10 people, 10 things to connect with right now, whether that's on Instagram or a Facebook group or YouTube. I mean, I think that's really been the beautiful thing that has come out of this, because we all were isolated and now we have found new ways to connect, and this new way fits into our lifestyles much easier than having to leave your kids. I have clients who have long commutes. This is just another stop, away from their families or whatever, where I have a girl who on our weekly calls, she has a 45-minute commute. She puts her camera off, links it to her car, and she drives home, and she can still connect with the community. She's lost 50 pounds through my training program. I mean, just mind-blowing. And she has an amazing corporate job, kids, grandma, like, she is thriving in her life. But then when she didn't have like the place that she could fit in her fitness with her lifestyle because of all of those amazing things thriving in her life, we just made it 10 times easier for her. And so I think that's the beauty of what's come out of this. And again, realizing that this happened for us, not to us, because we get to be a part of a new community and what things look like now, instead of being like, the way that I always did things doesn't exist anymore. This sucks. Like, we don't, that's not the thought process we need to be in. And I think most people are in the, let's change, let's grow, let's do this in a new way. And wow, I'm thriving.
Yeah, I love that. And I would totally echo what you were saying because I feel like, when I go back to thinking about the days of like working in corporate, it was like I was so ingrained in either my job or my meetings or the people at work and like, cool, right? Committed to that. But at the same time, when I think about my workday now being at home, being virtual and, popping into my Facebook community or, doing a podcast with you or like connecting with people on Instagram or like wherever it is, right? Like tapping in. It's like that community has grown. I've been able to connect with so many more people just because of that. And I agree with you. I think that's like an incredible shift. Incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit because we've got amazing fitness, bringing it into people's lives, making it easier. But then now you've started an e-commerce brand, which I'm going to say makes complete sense based on everything you've said. But, what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so as much as I love LeighAshley Fit and my clients, I am one person. And I call it like when you train with me, you get the Leigh show. You get the Leigh show today. We're working out, we're doing whatever. And I really do love that part of me. I am like an introvert extrovert. I am a group fitness instructor for sure, but I am also someone who loves to work, loves to kind of be in my zone and stuff. And I wanted a brand that wasn't as much my face and me and is scalable. And I am scalable online to an extent because, yeah, I can get in front of more people and all of that, but I still never want to be so big that I lose knowing that you have 3 cats and grandkids and that your middle name is this and your birthday is next Tuesday. Those things all really matter to me, and every client of mine, like my husband is like, every client of yours is your favorite client of yours. And you know everything about them. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, I can't keep them straight. You got 70 people. I'm like, I know. But I love them all that much. If that ever became 1,000 or 2,000, that might lessen. I mean, I hope not. But it's just being realistic. And the idea of e-commerce has scalability while still carrying out my mission to positively impact others' daily lives, all while getting healthier. That just might look like in the form of an exercise band now, or a community that uses my exercise bands and those people are connecting, and it just has a little bit different way of reaching people. And the other important piece, as you said, I'm the diehard dog mom for sure. My dogs are a huge part of my studio and anyone who trains with me, because I have 4 Malamutes, and go follow me on Instagram if you like dogs. There's more Malamutes in fitness half the time. And I ask people, I'm like, do I post about my dogs too much? They're like, no, more. I'm like, okay. But I see how much they hold people accountable and positively impact people in their fitness journeys. And then you hear those stories of, I got a dog and I lost 100 pounds because I couldn't sit on the couch and just not walk my dog. I mean, there's story after story after story like that. And I'm like, wow, I want a product that isn't my face, but still has the impact of positively impacting others' daily lives. And people tell me, I didn't want to come today, but I wanted to pet your dog, or I love your dogs. They sleep on my mat when I do my burpees, and it just makes it 10 times better, and the hour flies by. That can happen within your home. And if you don't have dogs, maybe it'll, inspire you to go walk dogs at a shelter or things like that too. I really hope that this brand reaches all different kinds of people who somehow like being active and somehow love animals. And it breaks my heart to ever think that dogs do hit shelters and rescues. And my breed, specifically Malamutes, they hit shelters a lot. They're dogs that people get because they're beautiful and they're fun, until you realize that they need 2 hours of exercise and your dog food bill is $500 a month, and the not fun things. And the rescue that I have chosen to specifically support does a really good job of educating people on that, as well as just rehoming them in places and rehabbing them in the most positive, beautiful way. So yeah, that was a long, drawn out thing, but it's a lot of reasons why e-commerce has been the direction I've chosen to go from a give back standpoint as well as an impact standpoint and scalability standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so can we share? We're going to share now, I think, like what you're actually doing. So we've talked about bands, sliders, like fitness equipment. If you guys haven't seen this, again, we'll have the link in the show notes. But there's some incredible products. They're all custom, and dogs are definitely making their way into your home with these babies. So yeah, I love
No,
that.
I love it. Share from the rooftops now.
Yes, yes, amazing. So thinking about that, because we do have a lot of clients or prospective clients who are thinking about developing a product. Like you actually went through and like developed this and like worked with partners, and like these are specific to like you, to Wildly Fit Co, to like everything that you just talked about. And I love that. Like the story really starts to come through. But I'm curious, what kinds of things you maybe ran into around the product development side, or just maybe like the top things that like you weren't expecting, because I feel like sometimes people get into this and they don't know, and so it might be helpful to hear that.
Yeah, I think when you are wanting to create a product, the biggest thing that I would tell people is like, it doesn't always have to be a new product. We don't need always, I mean, it could be. You might have $1 million idea and run with it if you do. We don't always need something like completely new though. We just need better solutions more often than not, is how I feel. So bands are used for rehab. They're used for making things more intense. They're used when you're traveling. So a band is great, right? Lots and lots of uses. But bands break, bands slip, bands, they come in the same boring primary colors. They, dig into your legs. So that was me as a trainer going, okay, I've seen cloth bands hit the market. I'm sure there's a way we can keep them from slipping. I don't like this width and length because they dig in. When you have clients of all shapes and sizes, that they've got to have enough stretch. There were a lot of things that I was like, I love bands, but I don't love them for a lot of other reasons. And what can I do to make them better? And that's where I really started. It wasn't that I created a new band that has never been seen. I just took one that I loved and made it better. And then I wanted it to have an impact beyond me, which was why we have the give back element. And yeah, I think if you are someone who is going to look into creating a product, it's what do you use a lot? What do you love? But then what do you not like about it? And how can you make it better? And then have fun with it. That's where the fun designs come in. And that's where you can put your own spin on it. But really, how can you serve someone better with a better solution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I love that because it's like taking a classic, but like redesigning, making it way more fun and like totally suits your personality. 100%. So super cool. What about some challenges? Like a lot of product developers that we work with, I mean, the number one thing that's been happening since 2020 is like supply chain issues, like delays, all these things. And so people don't think about that when they get into this because they're just thinking, oh, it's just going to come. Like we're in the world of ordering from Amazon and like, all those things. So maybe just some things that you were anticipating that happen and like how you pivoted a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually, when I got my designs for my first set and placed my order, I already was having the conversation with my graphic designer to start collection 2. So collection 2 is finalized, and then I will order it once I have samples coming, and once I finalize that. But before I've even launched, have already started the conversation of being ahead of the supply chain because that is a big issue. And then I think when, say I do have a supply chain issue come up and I can't launch new bands or something of that nature, ask your audience what they need from you. Get creative. So lots of people have asked me for sweatshirts. I didn't think that was going to be something on my radar, but my customers and people in the community are already asking for it. Okay, I'm going to lean into that. Can I do, a small launch of that? I think don't get so stuck on everything having to go to plan. Just be proactive when things do come up. Again, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Maybe sweatshirts are going to be the best selling thing that hit my store ever. I don't know that, but I have to adapt and recover constantly. And I just think that everything, when it's hard, just makes it so much better when it does work out. Yeah. So I always am in facing adversity, but I'm embracing it instead of letting it stop me, because I know that when I do succeed, it's going to be that much sweeter. So I can't give you a cookie cutter of this problem's going to pop up, do this instead. But what I can tell you is like, just wait till, I always tell people, I'm like, wait till you get to look over your shoulder and go, yeah, I accomplished that. That didn't kill me. I can keep going. That's the greatest gift you could get. Creating a product, yay, fun, yay, sell it. But when I get to say, no, I overcame X, Y, and Z to get there, and now I got that sale, that feels so much better.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you touched on a few things because, no matter what it is, whether you're curating, making, developing a product or something that you're wanting to sell in your business, like you're right, like nothing always goes to plan. In fact, very rarely do things go to plan. And sometimes it's a gift when they don't, like gives you a little extra time to plan, or maybe, if it's going to be a couple months, then you're going to get in there and spend time on building a community. So you actually have more eyeballs on your product that with people who want to connect with it, and just all these things. And so I love that you're like embracing it and not fighting it, because I find the folks that like kind of resist it a little bit, it's like, oh, that can't happen, so things have to freeze. It's like, no, this is like the luxury of time that we don't always get, and you can pivot and do other things that are going to help you along the way. So I love that you're doing that, and you've been doing that from like building that community and like investing that time. And that's so important, because a lot of brands forget about that and they just open their doors versus this whole like, let's get people rallied around this cause. Like, it's incredible, right? So yeah.
I've been working on this since October, and I've been talking about it, and I didn't have product, but I'm like, I'm secretly doing this. And I'm known for like getting on little chats on my LeighAshley Fit page, like when I walk the dogs, and I'm like, let's take this over to the Wildly Fit Co page, and I want to call it like the pack movement, or something fun of that nature. And I want you guys to tag me when you're out walking your dogs, creating that healthy community of people just moving with their pups, and whether that's with a band or not, and you just want to show me a cute picture of your dog, like, cool, I want to see that. And if you follow Wildly Fit Co, probably everybody else wants to see that too. It's like, let's find our people and have them in this space. So yeah, community is everything. And those are like, I always tell my clients, they thank me when they lose weight or whatever, and I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I got to be a part of this journey and see that. Like, I don't have a job unless you guys show up on these calls. I don't have a job unless you do everything and put your best foot forward. So community's really, that's where you need to start.
Yeah, I agree. So there's a lot of mindset stuff. I love this, positivity. And I know you said like, hey, mindset's like a big part of your fitness programs. You're obviously adopting that coming into Wildly Fit Co, because it shows like off the hop. I would love to know kind of like what mindset stuff has helped you from fitness into product, because I feel like some of the things are kind of similar, and would just love to know like what's like keeping you going here. What are you loving?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about mindset, because it is one of those things that you either brush off and don't have time for, or you're like sometimes too woo-woo and people are like, cool, but not for me. And I feel like I sit right in the middle, where there's some days I'm woo-woo and some days I'm really analytical. I feel like I always say I'm like a type A free spirit, if that's even a thing. And so when it comes to mindset in general, I believe each aspect of your life affects every aspect of your life. And most people don't think that. They're like, I'm killing it in the corporate world and I'm an awesome blah, blah, blah. And maybe like home life sucks. Or they are an awesome salesman, killing it, but they never take care of their health. And they're just like feel sluggish all the time. Whatever, is doing really well and something else is lacking. And that catches up with you. It only lasts so long. So I believe each aspect of your life affects every aspect of your life, and mindset being one of those aspects that we cannot overlook. And honestly, I just think taking time to do it in small doses is the most important thing. I don't go so woo-woo that I meditate 2 hours a day, but do I find pockets to reflect? Yes, whether that's 5 minutes in my car. And what really, really stands out to me is when I see people accomplish something and they're not in the right mindset, it doesn't matter to them. It's like, I think people think in health and fitness specifically that if I lose the 100 pounds, I'll be happy. Or if I lose the 100 pounds, then I'll address these other things. If I lose the 100 pounds, this will resolve itself. And what happens is you lose the 100 pounds and you had this beautiful journey and you did some amazing things and you can't even see it or care. Or you're honestly, sometimes I've had people break down because they were like, I was really riding on the fact that this would solve things and it hasn't. And that's crazy because I'm like, wow, if you would have like just paused in your journey every 10 pounds, even, if that was the big goal, and just worked on some inner work and done things, whether that was like your relationship with food, your relationship with family, your perspective of self-image, your goal setting, things of that nature. When you got to that end point, it would mean so much more. And now we're still starting at ground zero because you didn't take time to do the mindset or you blew it off. And so everybody, what they need to work on is a little different. And I think that's where working with the coach is really powerful. I always say, like, I remember in Fast Foundations, they asked us, what's your superpower? And I was like, my superpower is seeing where you are and getting you where you want to go. Whether that is you want to have a fitness goal or a career goal or a family goal or a life goal. So when you feel at a loss on the mindset, reach out to experts. Doesn't have to be me, or start listening to a podcast like Lori Harder's or something of that nature, and just in pockets of time reflect. And through that action, you might find more clarity, or you'll find someone that can help you, because an expert in anything is always excited and jazzed when you have questions. So don't be shy to ask them, is what I tell people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen people with that where they've made all these strides, and you're right. It's like there was no reflection time in there. It was just like go time. And then, you kind of look back and it's like they missed some things along the way, So I think that's really important what you're sharing there. So with that in mind, I'm like, 2 businesses, you've got a few Malamutes, you got amazing things happening, but then being in the health and fitness biz, like, what are you doing to prioritize like your own health and well-being in that, like, while you're like out there killing it?
So going virtual actually was one of the things that really gave me that space. And it, like I said, it was a little scary, but I've realized that just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I'd be lying to you if I wasn't like hustle culture queen in times. I am, and I have been. I'm a lot better about it now because I've seen what happens. And my husband laughs. He goes, you can handle 3 big things on your plate, but when that 4th thing comes on, he's like, you break down. And he's not wrong. Like, we built a house, planned a wedding, and did, I started my business all in the same year. But then when I went back to school, it was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness that the house was built. And because when the overlap was happening, I could just, I was not taking care of myself, whether that was my sleep, my stress, all of those things. And it does take a toll on you. And there are seasons, but what I've learned is that you have to put an end date to seasons. So, good example was corporate. I could have probably kept juggling that and raking in the money and whatnot, but I put an end date on that because I knew launch for Wildly Fit Co. was coming. And sure, would it have been great to have the extra cash? Yes. Would I have sacrificed my health for that? Yes. So I put an end date on it and I stuck to it. So when you're hustling and you're doing things to just prioritize your health, you just have to know that there's an end date in sight. And then the other thing is set goals for you and just you. And I actually just competed in my first bikini show, and that was a lot of work. But I also realized that it made me set aside time for myself. So even though I was doing cardio, I got to reflect and do my cardio and had a hard boundary that this was for me. And that was kind of selfish, but it's okay because 90% of the time I'm out serving others. It's okay to do that for yourself. So have end dates on things that are pushing you to, in that hustle mode, and then set goals that are for you and only you. Yes, Wildly Fit Co is a goal for me, but it has a give back element. It has other pieces to it that I have to show up for other people, where when I have a goal just for me, I'm only showing up for me and I'm only working on me. And that's just really important.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. The end date's so critical, honestly. And I can totally resonate with that because that's actually what did it for me. I wrote up my own resignation letter a month before I gave it and put a date on it and was and then I ended up changing it twice and just was okay, I just need to get this done now. But it was what was holding me accountable was knowing that no, I committed to this. This is a hard date. So,
yeah.
I think there's so many things there that people can take away who are in that mix for sure. So one of my last questions is, so you've gone through this transition from in-person to online, building a brand on the fitness side, now building a brand on the e-com side, which is very exciting. If you look back and think about the journey that you've been on, and it's incredible. You guys need to be following Leigh on Insta if you're not. But if you had to do it all over again, is there any advice you would give to yourself along the way?
Oh, that is a very good question. And I feel like what I have learned and wish I learned sooner, and I'm really glad that I have the type of personality that when I make a decision in my brain, I stick to my guns, is that nobody else has to wake up and be you every day. So when someone has an opinion or they say something or, whatever it is, it really doesn't matter because they don't have to wake up and be you. They don't have to live with your decisions. If you want to be a criminal and go sit in jail, no one else has to sit in jail for you but you. If you want to go be a scholar and hit the books, no one else has to hit the books but you. If you want to be a business owner and bootstrap things, no one else is going to put those boots on but you. So your thoughts, your opinions, those things matter. What serves you matters. What anybody has to say, even if they're close to you, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I remember my family in a positive way being are you okay? You left the guy that we all thought you'd marry. You quit your steady job. I actually was supposed to be a dental hygienist. That's what I was going to school for, all those things. And I quit and went and worked part-time at the desk gym job. And, I cleaned house on my life. And I was well, if I'm going to do it, I guess I'll do that at 20 and no one else has to wake up and be me. And I'm if I'm living in my car eating green beans, that's what I'm going to be doing. And if I'm not and I succeed, I'm the only one who gets to own that success too. So nobody else has to wake up and be you, even if they think you're crazy, but you in your heart know that that is what you are supposed to do or what you're supposed to say or how you're supposed to show up. Keep doing it because no one else has to do that but you. So their opinions don't matter.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's amazing. And so true, so powerful, because sometimes we're our critic and then we're listening to some of the other critique that comes in, and it's it layers on. And when you're starting something new, especially if it's a business or an idea, or you're just going against the grain, you know what I mean? I think we've both done that. And, you start to worry about what everyone else thinks. And I think if you could just release that, there's so much power in what you said, and just release it and go. Life's too short. Yeah.
And you're going to do it anyways. You're just going to do it a year from now, 6 months from now, because again, you're just going to 6 months from now say, why didn't I do it sooner? Because that's what I hear time and time again. So when your family is are you okay? Are you being crazy? Just just be okay with it and move forward. And then when you succeed, they'll see it. They just might not in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anything else that you want to share before we kind of close off today? We haven't
I'm
covered.
just super thankful for the opportunity to chat. And if you guys really are looking into building a Shopify or doing things, Sarah's the queen, you guys. When she says that, she means it. I feel like, yeah, I feel like my process and everything that has come together doesn't look like the trainer who lives in Washington did it. It looks like a legit brand, and that's what I wanted, because as much as I love the brand, how do I communicate that to you guys? That's through having a good site, a good email setup, all of those things. And if you want your product to have justice, you need to have the right people on your team. And Sarah has really stepped up to the plate and been able to complement my strengths with her strengths to now deliver a product to you guys that is seamless and you'll enjoy getting, and you won't have issues. And when you look at it, you're going to be excited to see what's on the page and what email you're going to get next week. Where if I did it myself, that experience wouldn't exist. So if you're thinking about doing something, go for it. Don't be shy. Message both of us. We want to talk to you about your products, but also have her do your build out, not me.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I heart you. Like, it's like one of my favorite things to do with new brands is just like help you bring that to life in a way that you envisioned, right? That's going to be awesome. So really excited for you. So where can people find you? I know we've alluded to this, like where should people get in touch?
Yeah, we will share in the show notes, like you said, but LeighAshley Fit and Wildly Fit Co., I would just follow them on Instagram, and from there are email lists, or I have a free booty guide that you can download at Wildly Fit Co. Wherever you like to hang out, whether it's email or Instagram, that's probably going to be the best. And I just can't wait to connect with you all. I want you in my DMs. That's my thing. People will say, I followed you for a year and now I got the courage to message you. I'm like, what? We're best buds now? You should have messaged me a year ago. Like, don't feel like you can't talk to me. That's what I want. I want to connect with you guys.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. No time like the present. Don't put it on hold, right? Don't listen to the thoughts. Just go. But thank you, Leigh, for being here. Really excited. Love your energy. Love everything you're doing just to support your fitness community and now the extended fitness and dog community through Wildly Fitco. And so we will be seeing great things from you. I have no doubt. So excited to connect. So if you guys are listening, thanks for tuning in today, and we will catch you in the very next episode.